The Chinese do not pay these tariffs. I pay this tariff. My name is Mia Gallison, and I'm the president of the Ibu Corporation. I have 20 employees, and right now we are suffering under the stresses of these tariffs. We're a small business, and we make beautiful, very safe educational products for kids of all learning levels that we've been manufacturing in China for over 30 years. We manufacture there because we have not been able to find manufacturers in the United States that can maintain the safety and quality of the stuff that we have produced. But for every dollar that we give to a factory in China, we are giving dollars and dollars all across our supply chain to Americans for American jobs. We use truckers to pick our stuff up from the port. We use warehouse workers that pick and pack. We have 100 sales reps that go out to little stores on Main Street, your Main Street, and those little stores put our stuff on their shelves and they make money. There are millions of Americans whose livelihoods rely on this vast system of small businesses in this country, and we need help. We cannot afford to bring the stuff that we have produced into our port because 145% tariff have been put on our products. Some of our stuff left the factory when we thought we were going to be paying 20%, and now it's at 145. The Chinese do not pay these tariffs. I pay this tariff. When I bring a container into a port, I pay a tax that goes to the U.S. government. The Chinese have nothing to do with it. We are not punishing the Chinese. We are punishing Americans by taking away their jobs. We've got Christmas coming up, and if our stuff can't come in, we are gone. Large companies that have very deep pockets may be able to survive this Christmas season, but we cannot. I don't believe that the goal of these tariffs was to put small businesses out of business, but this is going to eliminate small businesses in your area, and not just some, but many, on a level that I don't think you can really imagine. And you don't need to believe me. Talk to your neighbors. Ask anybody that's got a small business. And it doesn't just have to be in manufacturing. We are 40% of the U.S. economy, and we are getting killed. We either need a carve out for small businesses or we need some sort of exemptions, but we cannot survive this. So please write to your senators, talk to your congressmen, write to the White House, reach out and contact anybody you possibly can. And if you are a small business, let's get our voices out there, because I'm not seeing us on the news. I'm seeing Tesla and I'm seeing Mattel and I'm seeing big companies, but I'm not seeing small people like you and me out there imploring this administration to save our jobs.
Costco Tariffs Part 3 Update.
So let's just see how much prices are today as opposed to last time I made these videos. First, let's start off with this Tetris game.
As you can see, it's made in China.
In March of this year, it was selling for $88.99, but today it's selling for $94.99, a 6.9% increase. Next, we got Nutella. This was made in Canada. Back in February, this is selling for $14.99, and today it's selling for $14.99, so no change. Next, we got this bundle of glass bottled Coca-Cola. This is a product of Mexico. In February, this is selling for $34.99, but today it's selling for $35.69, a 2% increase. Fun side note, Costco selling a chicken coop for $1,000. Next, we got this 6-pack of avocados, product of Mexico. In February, this is selling for $9.99, but today, $9.79, a 2% decrease. Last, we got the toilet paper. For those who don't know, most of the wood used to make this come from Canada. In February, this bundle was selling for $20.99, and today it's selling for the exact same price.
Just got hit with a goddamn tariff. Remember how they said this would be paid by the importer? Well, this bill, that says otherwise. I ordered Pretty Litter from Pretty Litter, and apparently it came from Canada. And I had all this back and forth issues with them wanting a tariff last time, and then they took care of it. So, you know, all fine and dandy. I haven't ordered another package since because I've been hesitant because of this issue that I had. I just got a bill in the mail from UPS. $52.28. And I said, what the heck is this for? First of all, it said I bought 3 bags of Pretty Litter, and I didn't buy any of these bags of Pretty Litter because my original bag of Pretty Litter that was not tariffed came damaged, ripped to shreds, Pretty Litter everywhere. So I said, hey, what the heck? So they sent me a replacement one for free, 1 replacement bag of Pretty Litter. This says I received 3 bags of Pretty Litter, and I was charged a 7.5% tariff, a 10% tariff, and a 4% tariff. I didn't fuck around. Why do I have to find out?
If you're a T-Mobile customer, you already know that we saw a price increase to our bills earlier this month. And T-Mobile says that this was for the regulatory program and teleco recovery fee, which is basically a fee that T-Mobile charges to help cover what they pay to follow government rules to run their network. Now, on top of that, T-Mobile, along with AT&T and Verizon, are allegedly preparing for another price increase to T-Mobile customers due to the trade war. So as a Betty on a budget, what affordable phone plans are you guys on?
A while ago, I did a video about how this computer guy who fixes my computer had no idea what a tariff was, and he thought it was something China would have to pay Trump support. And I tried to explain to him what a tariff was, and he was quite baffled. And I was saying these tariffs are going to make computers much more expensive, and this guy has a computer business. And I could tell it sort of went over his head, probably because we haven't had tariffs on computers in a while, so this was a new concept for him. Well, fast forward a couple of months, and today I get an email from his office, encourage everyone to buy now. Because of tariffs, prices are going to go up. I thought, wow. It took a couple months, but you finally figured out what a tariff is, and now it's impacting your business. You're worried because with higher prices means fewer people can afford to buy your computers. So yeah, he's a little anxious now. I guess it's an FAFO.
Small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what's Trump's done for the automobile? I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Tariffs are going to give the Federal Reserve a headache, but it might end up working out in your favor. The Federal Reserve has a lot of control over interest rates, and of all of the government agencies, this one probably has the biggest impact on your wallet, so it is really worthwhile to understand what the Fed is and what the FOMC is. Now, the Fed has what's called a dual mandate. This means that it is always trying to balance two things, unemployment and inflation. These are always pushing and pulling against each other because when the economy is doing well, unemployment tends to go down, but inflation goes up. And when the economy is doing poorly, unemployment goes up, but inflation tends to go down. So there is this constant dance between the two sides of their mandate, and tariffs are going to throw a complete wrench at it. On one side, tariffs could cause cost push inflation. That was part one of this series. On the other side, tariffs could cause unemployment to rise as companies cut their costs and shore up the budget. That was part two of this series. Where the Fed usually has a seesaw with one moving in either direction, now both are going the wrong direction, up. So now we get to interest rates because the Fed sets the baseline of all interest rates in the country. We're talking car loans, credit cards, mortgages, that sort of thing. The baseline of all of these interest rates is called the federal funds rate. It's the rate at which banks lend to each other. To slow down the economy, which controls inflation, the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates. That's what they did in 2022 and 2023 when inflation was out of control. To speed up the economy, which controls unemployment, they will reduce the interest rate, which is what they're doing right now. But if both unemployment and inflation are going up, what do? Well, chances are they would reduce interest rates because they understand that the inflation we would experience is cost push, which means that the inflation isn't really a good sign that the economy is healthy. It actually might be the opposite. So instead, they would focus on unemployment and they would view it as a situation where the economy is doing poorly. Unemployment is on the rise and inflation has been discounted. Well, how do you react in this situation? You lower interest rates. Essentially, they would act as if the economy is doing poorly regardless of the indicators that inflation is giving us, which is generally good for your wallet.
So I'm a business owner and we started getting emails already about price increases.
And they're not increasing price. It's this like percentage that's getting added on to your total order. I'm assuming this is in anticipation for their costs going up with the tariffs. That's what I'm assuming because it's happening across the board. Some companies are super transparent about the reasons why, and others are not so much. Maybe they're just riding the wave and their prices haven't actually gone up, but they're getting the money where they can. Maybe they already needed it. I don't know. But it's creating this sense of complete anxiety for me because it's out of my control, and you just never know when something like this, where it caps out. And then you have to adjust everything, but you don't want to lose business and you don't even want this to be happening at all. The unknown gives me anxiety. It gives me this sense of not having control because, every year we make a plan for the business. We know that there's going to be increases in our costs and we adjust. And the thought of having to adjust again or not and seeing how everything pans out is really scary. It's happening. It's not that it's not happening, but I just have to accept it and pay attention to the things that matter and make sure the staff's okay, be there for our customers and communicate well, be completely transparent, and know that everything's going to be all right one way or another. And we might lose business and we might lose income, probably with everything. But I'm riding the wave. I'm making adjustments as I can because getting all worked up about it isn't going to do a thing.
I took out a $50,000 loan for the first time this week to pay the 54% tariff on our inventory arriving in a few days, which was something I never thought I would have to do. We still have to close after Mother's Day rush because there's no way we can afford the 145% tariff. And I'm refusing to raise prices right now so anyone navigating grief, loss, or illness themselves can still access our products, especially because Mother's Day is our biggest holiday. I honestly feel sick to my stomach that we have inventory of new products that I already paid for just sitting on our factory floor. Like we were going to release these jewelry inserts for the keepsake case for those who want to use it as a jewelry box, but I refuse to pay the US government $80,000 or more just in tariff costs. So once we sell out for Mother's Day, we have to close until something happens with the tariffs. We will have the keepsake case E2, This Is Not a Coffee Table book, and the time capsule journal available for Mother's Day. And as a reminder, especially for the time capsule journal, if you're giving it to a loved one to answer questions for an end-of-life situation, please email us and let us know and we will prioritize your order.
As of this morning on Friday, May 2nd, the Trump administration has completely suspended a very important U.S. import tax code called Section 321. Section 321 essentially allowed direct-to-consumer businesses like mine here at Passion Footwear to take advantage of a free trade status. The elimination of this policy has led to unbelievable price hikes for direct-to-consumer businesses overnight, and so as of this morning, we are officially adding a tariff tax line item to every single product in our storefront. To help break this down and explain why you, as an American consumer, should care, let's do a little tariff math lesson. And if at the end of this lesson you still think there's an argument that the Chinese government is actually the one paying these tariffs, power to you. To give the needed background, my company is Passion Footwear, and we have invented fully convertible heel technology that lets you turn a standard heel into a comfortable flat. We also let you swap out your heels to create custom looks. I think it's fair to say this is easily the most complicated footwear product on the market. Because of that, our shoes require the combination of specialty injection molding with craftsman footwear assembly. Those two processes currently only coexist at scale in China. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to share real data regarding our walnut knit booties. The most important thing to know is this shoe has a textile upper and is therefore being taxed at the highest possible rate. First, laying the groundwork, here is an actual screenshot from one of my POs at Passion. The booty in walnut knit has a cost of $40.54. By the way, everything you're hearing about Chinese labor being cheap slave labor is propaganda and a lie. In case y'all didn't know, companies like Nike can make sneakers for literally $7. My shoes are very expensive to make because the team that works on them in China are all specialty trained technicians, craftsmen, and mechanical engineers. So please point me to the slave labor, but that's beside the point. With a roughly $40 cost, we usually sell this shoe at full price for $230. However, right now it's on 60% off to try to make up for this tariff situation, but besides the point. Let's go ahead and do some simple tariff math. Let's go ahead and assume we're able to sell the shoe at full price for $230. As we now know, the physical material and labor cost of that shoe is $40.54. However, as my customers know, when you're buying a shoe from Passion, you're actually buying a bundle, and that $40.54 is only reflective of the upper part of the shoe's cost. Considering that there's a block heel kit in this bundle, we have to also factor in the heel price of $9.29. However, it's important to know this is not where cost of goods ends. First, we have to factor in the price of freight, which is what we pay a boat to actually bring this product into our warehouse. Freight is usually priced by volume because obviously the bigger an item is, the less of it you can fit into a container. The freight cost for our shoes is $3.41 per box, and then the freight cost for the heel kits, since they're much smaller, is usually only about 56 cents. This brings us to $3.97 for freight just to bring the product over here. Next, we have to layer in fulfillment fees, which is what we pay our warehouse per unit when they are picking and packing your order to prepare it for shipping. This fee is covering things like what we pay the warehouse to store the product before it sells, what we pay a warehouse worker to go pick up the product from the shelf once it's ordered, put it into a shipping container and put the label on it, as well as check it for any quality defects. All those little things put together adds up to about a $3 fulfillment fee per shoe, and then about an extra 44 cents per heel kit. Next up, as an e-commerce brand, we usually heavily subsidize shipping and even offer free shipping on most of our orders. On average, this is going to cost us about $12 to the consumer based on their location. Last but certainly not least, we have to factor in merchant fees, the percentage of each and every transaction that we pay to our website provider Shopify, to the credit card processing company, etc. This usually nets out to about $4.37 for a shoe purchase and then $1 for an additional heel kit purchase. Keep in mind, at this point, none of this is factoring in duty because we've been importing under Section 321, which lets us take advantage of free trade. So up until today, we have not had to factor duty into this equation. After we factor in all the different elements of cost of goods, this leaves us on a $230 sale, a total product profit of $155.39. This is otherwise known in the industry as your gross profit. In the fashion industry, you would usually be targeting about a 50% gross profit. Here, we're looking at 67.56%. However, calling this number gross profit is slightly misleading because this is not actually the profit into the business. At this point, you have to factor in your operating costs. The operating cost is going to be inclusive of everything you need to run your business that needs to be covered by the profits of the business. For instance, all of your salaries, marketing budget, your product development, as well as general overhead, which covers everything from office space to your software subscriptions. For instance, a big one for us is we have to pay to subscribe to Shopify to actually run our website. To that point, website maintenance costs. You get the gist. This list is not comprehensive, but essentially this number includes everything that is required to actually operate your business on a daily basis, broken down and divided out by exactly how many shoes you think you can sell in any given month. At Passion, this number ends up being $111.69. This leaves us with an actual operating profit, or EBITDA for industry folk, of $43.70 per shoe. This is sitting at 19%, which shockingly is close to double the footwear industry average of 10%. However, thank goodness this number is so high because as a high growth startup, we need this number as high as possible. In a giant company like, let's say, a Nike or a Steve Madden, this amount of money might just go to lining the bank account. However, when you're a company that's growing very quickly, this number is what directly contributes to your ability to hire new people, which by the way is code for actually creating US jobs. And then most importantly, this is your budget for actually buying more shoes. Y'all know that Passion has always struggled with sellouts. It's because this is the money we have to work with to keep buying more product without outside funding. So there you have it. We're able to clear a 19% profit and use that money to create jobs and make more shoes and grow the business, right? Not to mention that's also the amount of money that potentially could contribute to our corporate income tax base, but apparently the government doesn't care about that. Because with the elimination of Section 321, suddenly we get to play the tariff game. Something a lot of people don't realize when they hear the 145% tariff is that's not where it stops. The tariff is a surcharge charged on top of your base import rate as well as other rounds of tariffs. Your tariff rate is determined by the product's HTS code, which is determined by the type of product and the material. So for instance, given the example of our walnut knit bootie, we're looking at a textile boot. That's HTS code 6404193960. That HTS code already has a base duty rate out of China of 37.5%. Then you have to add on the 7.5% 301 tariff, which is the first round of tariffs that Trump introduced in his first term. Yes, they were never rolled back. Then you get to add in the new 145%. Throw on a 0.35% processing fee because suddenly we need a duty broker on every transaction. And you get a total rate of 190.35% on your cost of goods. So now let's go ahead and adjust these numbers, shall we? Let's go ahead and keep the MSRP at $230 because China's going to pay these tariffs, right? We now have to take the cost of this shoe and multiply it by that 190.35% tariff. This now means every time we import this shoe, we have to pay an additional $77.14 on top of the $40.54. But wait, don't forget about the heel kit because that gets tariffed too. Luckily, at a slightly more advantageous rate of 83.05%. On a $9.29 heel kit, that is now a tariff of $7.72. With those adjustments, this now means my total cost of goods has skyrocketed to $159.47. Meaning that gross profit number, the number that covers all those operating costs and gives us a little bit of profit, yeah, that number isn't $155.35 anymore. No, it's $70.53. However, assuming I want to keep all my people employed, continue product development, and manage my overhead, we push these operating costs through still at the same price, right? We suddenly go from profiting $43.70 per shoe to invest in more jobs and more shoes, to suddenly losing $41.16 on every single sale. So, moral of the story is, yeah, we're adding a tariff tax line item to cart. I'd love to know when the Chinese government is going to come pay this bill.
Y'all heard that she ain't doing free shipping no more, starting July 1st, 2025.
If you're an Amazon shopper, please stop what you're doing right now and watch this video. It is going to save you time and money. Amazon is being affected by the tariffs. Why? Because a lot of products on Amazon are coming from China, okay? It's extremely important right now that you do your due diligence when you're shopping on Amazon. I would honestly recommend only buying products that you're familiar with the price on, that you know are not coming from China, or that you've been watching the price and you're just like aware of what the traditional cost of the item is. Because right now, these companies are jacking their prices up, triple and quadruple the price to avoid purchasers and to 10x cover the tariff fee that they're dealing with right now. Right now is the time to support local businesses in your community that sell whatever the item is that you're wanting to buy off Amazon. The same thing applies to TikTok right now as well. There are a lot of products that are triple or quadruple their normal price because of the tariff situation. I don't want to see you guys paying more for something, and I don't want to see the prices that they're raising them to staying there because people are willing to pay for it, okay? Be mindful.
TikTok shop creators, what the heck are we doing about these tariff prices? Because, oh my God, this has got me stressed. I just got a notification about 5 different price changes. I mean, this spring sweatshirt that I was talking about being less than $20, look at the price on that. How the heck are we handling this, guys? What are we doing? Help.
Woke up this morning and the tariffs on my TikTok shop items in my showcase literally skyrocketed. I had like over 30 items that had a price increase. So this is what you're going to do. Now, if you still want to make videos on that item that the price increase skyrocketed to, what you're going to do is you're really going to promote how high quality it is, how bougie it is. Say it's like a little travel bag. Just talk about literally all the things. Make it sound amazing. You want to hype it up so people actually think that the price is worth it, because people are still going to be purchasing things at high prices, just not as many of them. And eventually those prices will go down. So say you did make a video of a like travel bag, eventually that price will go down. So when someone goes to watch your video, you're going to be hyping up like a $11 bag and they're definitely going to buy it. I'm personally going to try and stick with items that are made in like the US and are sold in the US. So that way I can like avoid the tariffs and just the high prices. But if I do have any samples that have a tariff price increase, that's what I'm going to do. Also, I'm almost to 5K followers on this account, 400 followers away. So give me a follow.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?